So welcome back. Today I'm going to talk to you about my personal statement that I wrote in use for my UCAS application this year, and I'm going to give you first the one that I actually sent off, and then I give you the unabbreviated version, the version that I would have loved to send off, but it was a bit too long. But to be honest, in the end it didn't make a difference because I got a place anyway. So I received 4 out of 4 offers. Initially I applied to 5 choices, but I withdrew from the University of Glasgow because I was just not quite happy with the modules in the end. That was fine because I applied after the deadline. So the deadline for UCAS application is usually mid-January. This year it was end of January. But I applied on the 22nd of April, so about 3 months after the final deadline, which didn't present a problem to me actually. So the other 4 universities I applied to were Lancaster with the study abroad option in second year, so it would be a 3 years degree. I didn't actually meet their grade requirements by 1 mark. I did the IB. They asked for chemistry 6 and I got a 5. But because I already had my results and I already had a BSc, I already had a BA in linguistics, I thought that in the combination of my personal statement and the reference from my tutor was probably going to be strong enough to get me a place, which was the case in the end. Only condition being sending them my IB diploma for verification. The second choice was Nottingham, University of Nottingham, also for biochemistry, the general BSc, so without the study abroad. That was the first uni that replied to me, and I received an offer. I can't remember if I had to send in my diploma even, but I think I might have. Yeah, I think I did, and then it went from conditional to unconditional. Same with Lancaster. As soon as I send in my IB diploma, it went to unconditional. The other university was Liverpool, University of Liverpool. They were the second to reply, but initially I had an interview, so I got an email saying, are you free for an interview? We just want to have a chat. It wasn't like an application interview. It was just kind of like, in the end it was just like chatting about if I knew why or that I was going to do another degree, and if I was sure if that's the right thing for me to do, considering I already have a BA in something unrelated. But I did explain that in my personal statement as well, which I will read out in a bit. So yeah, it was like, it wasn't really an interview. I asked a few questions because I was interested in their 4-year program, because in final year you could do a year in industry. That would count towards your degree, and I'm really interested in research, so that option was great. And I would be able to go abroad for a semester without extending my degree, because study abroad was a really important factor for me when I looked at the unis, and obviously if they still had a place. But they didn't have Australia as an option, which is something that I wanted to do. But I switched to, what is it called? Biological medical sciences, yeah. Well, you could have done that, but third year wasn't really what I was interested in terms of the modules. But I could have switched to biochemistry in second year. That would have been fine. That was something I seriously considered. Nottingham was more like a backup. And then my final choice was Warwick for biochemistry, where I met the grade as well, actually by a few marks. They required 34 AB points, and 5 in biology and 5 in chemistry. If you only had chemistry, you had to get 36 points and something else. So I met theirs by quite a few marks, and yeah, they replied on Warwick replied on the very last day they had to reply, which was the 6th of July, if I remember. That was like the deadline where all the unis had to respond to the people who applied by May, I think, after the deadline, but before clearing. So yeah, I was actually in Rome when I got the email, where it said, "Oh, UCAS track has changed." Sorry, there was something else. UCAS track has changed, and I checked it immediately, and I had an offer, and I was like, that was awesome, because I was hoping, because it's a good uni, and I really like the modules, and I like that it's a campus-based uni. And I looked at campus tours online. I obviously couldn't go. I was only there for Rome for a day as a trip. So I was like, great. Now I had a lot of decisions to make, because there I could also or can go abroad. The thing is, it would extend my degree. So that was one of the things I wasn't quite happy with. But why I applied in the end as well was that you can mix and match. You can do a year study abroad, a year placement, or you can mix it. So 1 semester abroad here, 1 semester abroad here, 1 placement here, 1 placement there, or 1 study abroad and 1 placement. So that's what why I was like, okay, it does take me 4 years if I do that, but it's a great option. So I only had like a week to do the replies. Warwick was still conditional, because obviously I had to send him my IB diploma, which was fine, but it also has to send him a letter from my uni saying that I finished my postgraduate degree, but I didn't have my certificate for the degree yet at that point, so I was a bit panicking. So what I did in the end, I put Warwick, conditional, as my firm, and Lancaster study abroad as my insurance. That was unconditional, so I knew if there was some problems with getting Warwick to accept that I would finish my MA, because all the other unis didn't care about that. They didn't even care about my bachelor, just the IB. Then it would go to unconditional. So eventually I was able to send him a letter, and then it turned to unconditional. Obviously then it declined Lancaster. So that's how I ended up in Warwick with biochemistry, which I'm really happy. So yeah, I thought that I could go through my UCAS application. There's so basically I said I applied on the 22nd of April. On the 4th of May I received an offer from University of Nottingham. On the 5th of May I was offered a place by Liverpool. On Glasgow I withdrew on the 16th of May. Lancaster I received an offer on the 25th of June. It switched to unconditional on the 1st of July after I sent in my diploma. Warwick offered me a place on the 6th of July, like I said, the last day they had to reply. And on the 10th of August they accepted the letter I sent them, and that's when my place there was confirmed to unconditional. That's why I'm going to. And the personal statement read as follows. To be part of the solution and to achieve my personal goal, I wish to read biochemistry at university. It is intriguing to me how the biochemical reactions at the cellular and molecular level in living organisms are not visible to the naked eye, yet underpin many aspects of life. It is the details, i.e. biochemical reactions that occur during, for instance, the absorption of pain medication, of the bigger picture, i.e. pain relief, that I enjoy studying. Further, I believe that studying biochemistry will help me answer the many scientific questions I have. As them relate to pharmacology, immunology, and genetics, I'm particularly keen to study related optional modules. I define being part of the solution as supporting scientists in spreading facts. During the pandemic, many people have been left confused and anxious due to the blood clot debate. Scientists are not heard amongst the mis- and uninformed. During my research, I learned that AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine creates an unintended immune response which causes thrombocytopenia, characterized by blood clots and a low number of thrombocytes and hence altered coagulation. As this is a treatable condition which manifests itself through headaches, nosebleeds and easy bruising, it can be recognized. I believe if these facts were communicated more effectively with the public, people could regain trust in the process of vaccine development and ultimately in science. In the future, I see myself working in a laboratory, which is why I'm looking forward to the degree's laboratory work experience. While I'm still graduating with an MA in interpreting and translation, my choice to study biochemistry has been a long-planned goal. In 2018, I started studying towards a degree in natural sciences with the Open University, but had to drop out due to finances. I then decided to gain practical skills, interpreting and translation, to set up an income source to use my time productively until I would be able to resume my studies. Further, during my postgraduate studies, I continued to be committed to the sciences, my translation specialism, choosing Lancasser's and Leo's paper on antidepressants and the chemical imbalance theory of depression as my extended translation project. It's a journal article. I can link that one below. I was actually going to send the authors my translation of the article, but I have yet to do that because I have to proofread and do some changes. But I'll get there eventually. My BA in linguistics allowed me to pursue my interest in languages whilst using the scientific skills I gained during the IB. During the degree, I read research papers and became familiar with their structure and how to read one, which is actually important. My BA dissertation allowed me to conduct an experimental reaction time study involving literature review, critical thinking and synthesis of ideas, defining a null and experimental hypotheses, data collection, data analysis using SPSS, and critical discussion of my results. I, thus, believe that the skills I developed and applied by completing my dissertation will complement my biochemistry studies, in particular the writing of lab reports. For the past 8 years, I have written science articles for the student newspaper. My article on genetic memory even received recognition of the then editor-in-chief as the best science article of the year. I was also the science online editor for 2 years of those 8. Both roles require me to stick to deadlines, a skill I know is valued at degree level. I also held the leadership roles of A, President of the Enterprise Society, and B, lead presenter of a student radio show. It was called a broadcast. It was international student discussion show, but obviously it's too long, so I had to make it short. Both roles taught me how to manage and work well in a team, communicate well with others, and presentation skills. For instance, by giving a presentation introducing the Enterprise Society. I believe that these skills will make me a great lab partner. Lastly, I have already studied several past papers of biochemistry modules taught at my current university to prepare myself for my chosen degree, learning more about biological membranes and the importance and functions of proteins, because proteins are actually really important in the study of biochemistry. So I quickly looked at some of my drafts on my personal statement. Interesting enough, when I applied for my bachelor's degree in linguistics, I had a much easier time to write my personal statement. But I remember I put like Duke of Edinburgh in there and I can't remember. So yeah, the thing that I wanted to include was a debate on AstraZeneca's vaccine problem with blood clots, because I wanted to show them, look, I know there's this huge issue, I have this interest, this is what I know about it, so I wanted to use that as an example of my interest in biochemistry, and that I look beyond like the facade. It was like a really big paragraph, So I had to cut it down, and like I said, I only said, I said it causes thrombocytopenia, and if it were communicated more effectively, blah blah blah. But the paragraph I originally drafted was much longer. I'm just gonna read that out as well. One question I ask myself, for instance, is the ongoing debate between linking AstraZeneca's vaccine to blood clots, which has left many people confused, anxious, and skeptical of vaccine development. A dangerous mix, as quick and big vaccination campaigns can stop the virus from mutating, which usually prolongs the pandemic. Oh, that was like a really weird draft sentence, sorry. Once I looked at the chemical reactions that may cause these rare blood clots, I came to conclude that even though I'm one of those under 60-year-old females most at risk of developing a clot as a reaction to the vaccine, I would still take it. In the end, I received the BioNTech vaccination only because in my vaccination center or in Germany, there was like this whole switch between, AstraZeneca can no longer be given to people under 60 years. And my appointment was like 2 days after that announcement. So I had BioNTech. The vaccine, according to the German Paul-Ehrlich Institute, and later confirmed by the European Medicines Agency, apparently creates an immune response that causes antibodies to develop. Immunology is one branch of biochemistry, which attaches to platelet factor 4, causing clots. That in return causes thrombocytopenia, a lack of thrombocytes, a treatable condition. I firmly believe that if this information, and more importantly the symptoms, were communicated more effectively with the public, drowning the loud ill-informed, people would be left more confident in the management of the pandemic, vaccine development and safety, and ultimately in science. Then there was another bit that was even more important, which showed my thinking of connecting ideas. This would also stop people from taking aspirin as a precautionary measure prior to getting the vaccine by AstraZeneca, as a lack of thrombocytes causes impaired coagulation, which aspirin would only worsen and cause greater potential or risk of bleeds, already a symptom of thrombocytopenia. I can and have already been an advocate of this information, and I will try to continue to do so. A degree in biochemistry would improve and support my efforts to prevent harm and increase and instill trust in science again. So obviously that was like a really long paragraph, so I had to obviously cut it down. The thing is, I had to. And I thought, oh my god, if I don't include that, maybe they don't realize how much I love science and how much I thought about this and just look beyond like the superficial information. But I had to cut it down. And I did, I got 4 out of 4 hours. But I also think that was due to my tutor writing a good reference. So basically the person who wrote my reference for UCAS was my translation supervisor. So the supervisor was a professor actually, but it doesn't matter. He supervised my translation project for my final, for my translation MA. It's the paper I mentioned earlier, the antidepressants and the chemical imbalance theory of depression. I did that English into German and I got a good grade. So I did something right there. There was another bit, it was what I wanted to write for my closing paragraph. So initially I wanted to say, science has also been in my extracurricular activities for the past 8 years. During this time I was a science writer, and for 2 years the online science editor for Leeds University student newspaper. Frequently citing journal articles and scientific studies in my articles. I was elected to other leadership roles of a president of the Enterprise Society and B, lead presenter of the student radio's flagship radio show. I believe this makes me a great student who can A, work independently and B, as a group as required during laboratory work and in my chosen lab-based career. This was the first one I read out was my personal statement that I used for my application this year. and I did apply or tried to apply for university in 2018 as well. As I mentioned in my personal statement, that I tried to do that with the Open University, but I had to drop out due to finances, which was a shame because I really enjoyed it, and I did get a good grade for the 2 of the assignments I handed in. But never mind. Degrees at the Open University, so science degrees, are eligible for a second loan. There are the part-time loans, and even if you study like 120 credits with the Open University, it still counts as part-time, so you could apply to that for that loan. But I can't remember why they took that long. I sent them my idea again, and address history, because you have to show that you've been in the country for long enough. The other thing I was considering doing part-time at a like physical university where you can also get a part-time maintenance loan, but I just thought OU is just a bit simpler. But I never really liked the idea of not being able to do a more like a focused degree, because natural sciences or I do biology, chemistry, just wasn't quite the right thing. So I'm so glad I can now go to a physical university. Okay, but 2018 I wanted to apply for medicinal chemistry. I know it's not quite for me. It would possibly a bit too difficult. So that's why I said, okay, I'm doing biochemistry now. I have a lot of modules on neuropharmacology. Is one module at Warwick, which is what I'm really looking forward to. And later on the BSc, I can specialize. And that's why I decided to go with biochemistry first. But I thought it might be interesting to read out the personal statement that I wanted to apply with in 2018. After reading my educational background, you may ask yourself, why would this applicant decide to study a second degree shortly after finishing her first one? That was before at the DMA. My motivation is strong for my new course because I'm in the process of setting up a charity that is focusing on the improvement of medical treatments for mental health conditions. Every medication has side effects, and antipsychotics used to treat mental health conditions such as schizophrenia, but also the many cases of bipolar disorder, cause significant weight gain very quickly and can lead to diabetes. For these patients, the question they must ask themselves is whether they want to see their mental health condition improve, which is not guaranteed when you start a new antipsychotic, but may feel upset about the weight gain and be fat, or whether they can go without medication and stay physically healthier but perhaps still struggling mentally. It's heartbreaking to see how much grief this causes patients, especially since these antipsychotics are also commonly given to inpatients who are given no choice. I hope it's not the case too often, but this world is big, so there will be at least one case where that happens. Therefore, I want to set up this charity so that I can attract investment and attention to the development of new drugs, finding ways to counteract these side effects or improving the side effect profile of existing medication. I'm still interested in that kind of thing. Developing new medication or drugs can take a long time. It also has to do with funding and admin works. It's not really the scientists that are at fault. So let's continue. The letter, so improving the side effects of existing medication. The letter has already been done before with the drug escitalopram, which is a pure version of citalopram with fewer side effects and greater effectiveness. Scientists have found that out of the two enantiomers found in citalopram, the S-enantiomer is delivering the therapeutic effect, whereas the R-enantiomer limits these effects. The charity will also focus on the study of the effects of medication on other factors, such as birth control, through further funding and initiation of such studies. I think that's quite wishful thinking, but it's really needed. For example, scientific literature indicates that the drug lamotrigine, used for epilepsy and as a mood stabilizer, could reduce the effectiveness of oral birth control by up to 50% and vice versa. Especially for epilepsy, this is alarming, as reduced levels of lamotrigine would no longer prevent seizures. There is too little research into that area, so that we, in fact, do not know how this applies to all types of oral contraceptives and to what extent. It is also unclear how quickly this reduction or increase happens when going on or off oral birth control, and there is clearly a need for further research. In addition, I have to say, it's not just about oral contraception, but also about, I think there's the patch and there's the implant in your upper arm, and there's even less research on that. To set up and run this health charity, I personally believe that it is important that I have a good grounding in the science behind it. I have been considering an MSc in drug discovery and development, but as a degree in biochemistry, pharmacology, or chemistry is an entry requirement, I will need to study towards a BSc in pharmacology or biochemistry instead. Although I have not studied biology or chemistry since I received my IB diploma in 2012, I have always preferred the more scientific side of my current linguistics degree, the field of psycholinguistics, which has allowed me to conduct a reaction time experiment for my undergrad dissertation that also involved the planning of the experiment as well as a statistical analysis of my recorded data. Unfortunately, although I achieved 36 points in the diploma with high level 556, I only received a 5 in high level chemistry instead of the frequently required 6. However, I did manage to get a 6 in higher level biology. What is more, I conducted my extended essay in chemistry. I think I was the only one in the school actually doing that, on the cohort, on the separation of M&M food dyes through paper chromatography, for which I received a B, and together with my A in theory of knowledge, gave me all 3 core points. I know that I could have achieved a 6 in high level chemistry, but I had been struggling with my mental health very badly then, and this has impacted my ability to study. I'm doing much better now that I have been properly diagnosed and found effective treatment since. As a result, I'm expecting to receive a 2-1 for my BA in linguistics and phonetics this September. But yeah, that's the statement I would have used to apply for medicinal chemistry or drug development in 2018. I'm happy how it worked out that I wasn't able to go to a uni then and couldn't continue with the Open University, because I ended up doing my MA in translation and conference interpreting, which is something that I had my eye on for quite a few years, because now I have that and it's a practical skill. If I wanted to, I have the qualification to work for the European Union in Brussels, and I can do that next year, the year after. I'm not in a rush, but at the same time I can freelance, which is what I'm doing now, to obviously earn money throughout my degree. So I don't regret that, because it's a career path, and the science is also a degree path, and I can combine them by specialism or separate them by part-time this, part-time that. So I've got a few options. So yeah, if you have any questions, this is a long video, but if you have any questions, just ask them. I'm gonna link the article that I translated down below. And yeah, maybe I should say what I got in terms of my grades. I had 36 points, 3 core points. I had 5 in high level English lit, 5 in high level chemistry, and 6 in high level biology, but they marked us down by a ridiculous amount, so it should have been a 7, like our internal assessment. They marked us down by like 12 marks. It really annoys me. Should have been a 7. Anyway, sound level, Japanese B, so not ab initio, 6, psychology 6, and maths 5. I was apparently the second best in my cohort for standard level maths, so won the the one that was best was went to Cambridge, and the one who was third best also went to Cambridge, so I did quite well. But yeah, any questions, just let me know. And I know this has been a big video, but if it interests you, thank you.